Welcome to the Dividend Heroes Investment Channel. Do you want to make hundreds, if not thousands of dollars? Do you want to do it while sitting on your couch, while playing video games, hanging out with your friends, or on vacation? Then you're in the right place. Our Dividend Hero will teach you how. And stay tuned until the end, where our hero will tell you how much he made in his portfolio for the month of June. Over to you, DH.
Let's start with equities that distribute dividends quarterly. Grainger, ticker symbol GWW, is a leader in industrial supply and happens to be a dividend king. With a dividend yield of 0.82%, a declared annual dividend of $8.20, I earned a dividend of $6.81 by owning just 3.4 shares. Home Depot, ticker symbol HD, is a dividend juggernaut, pays a declared annual dividend of $9, which yields to about 2.55%. It paid me a dividend of $19.68 for the 9 shares I own. Visa, V, is a payment processing powerhouse that declared an annual dividend of $2.08, yielding approximately 0.77%. It paid me $6 in quarterly dividends. I own over 12 shares of Visa. Eli Lilly, ticker symbol LLY, is a global pharmaceutical company that paid me $5.51 for owning over 4 shares. Alphabet, ticker symbol Google, is a global technology leader specializing in internet-based products and services. Because Alphabet just started paying a dividend, they have a dividend yield of just 0.52% and an annual dividend of 80 cents. Therefore, my dividend for owning 24 shares was just $4.86. Although, that means that there is a lot of room for the dividend to grow, as the payout ratio is just 2.81%. Microsoft MSFT is a leading software, hardware, and cloud services company. They have a dividend yield of 0.91% and an annual dividend of $2.72 per share. They paid me $6 for owning over 8 shares. NVIDIA, NVDA, is a growth-focused company renowned for its advanced GPUs and AI solutions. They have a dividend yield of 0.04% and an annual dividend of 16 cents per share. This month they paid me a dividend of 36 cents for owning 36 shares. Next, let's move on to ETFs with monthly distributions. JP Morgan, Nasdaq. Equity Premium Income ETF, JPQ, seeks to provide income utilizing an option strategy. They have a dividend yield of 9.14% and an annual dividend of $6.64 per share. It paid me a whopping $28.08 for owning 64 shares in June 2024. JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, JEPI, seeks to provide returns associated with the S&P 500 index. They have a dividend yield of 7.89% and an annual dividend of $6.06 per share. It paid me a dividend of $19.49 for owning over 59 shares. Spider Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF Trust, DIA, aims to track the performance of the DJIA, holding 30 large blue-chip U.S. stocks. They have a dividend yield of 2.03% and an annual dividend of $6.34 per share. It paid me $5 for owning 8.6 shares. Global X U.S. Infrastructure Development ETF, USAI, provides exposure to U.S. companies involved in infrastructure development. They have a dividend yield of 6.92% and an annual dividend of $1.78 per share. It paid me $13.12 for owning 114 shares. WisdomTree U.S. Quality Dividend Growth Fund, DGRS, focuses on high-quality U.S. companies with strong dividend growth potential. They have a dividend yield of 1.93% and an annual dividend of $1.09 per share. I own 69 shares, totaling $10.67 in dividends paid. Let's shift gears and talk about highly reliable bond ETFs. Vanguard Tax-Exempt Bond ETF, ticker symbol VTEB, primarily invests in municipal bonds issued by governments. They have a dividend yield of 2.26% and an annual dividend of $2.36 per share. I own 64 shares that paid me $8.48 in dividends. iShares National Muni Bond, ETF, ticker symbol MUB, like VTEB, offers federally exempt income to its shareholders. They have a dividend yield of 2.26% and an annual dividend of $2.36 per share. It paid me $8.46 in dividends for owning over 31 shares. Vanguard Long-Term Bond ETF, ticker symbol BLV, invests in long-term U.S. government and corporate bonds. They have a dividend yield of 4.03% and an annual dividend of $4.22 per share. BLV paid me $12.30 for owning over 46 shares. iShares Short-Term National Muni Bond, ETF, ticker symbol SUB, seeks results corresponding to the performance of the U.S. municipal bond sector. They have a dividend yield of 1.84% and an annual dividend of $1.83 per share. I own 32 shares and it paid me a dividend of $6.03. Moving on to the next category, BDCs and REITs are valuable vectors for diverse income streams. Main Street Capital Corporation, or MAIN, is a BDC that invests in and provides financing to lower middle market companies. They have a dividend yield of 7.07% and an annual dividend of $2.76 per share. I own approximately 74 shares, totaling a whopping $39.19 in dividends paid. Gladstone Capital Corporation, or GLAD, is a BDC that invests in and provides capital to small and mid-sized businesses. They have a dividend yield of 9.24% and an annual dividend of 84 cents per share. I own approximately 159 shares, totaling $26.05 in dividends paid. Gladstone Investment Corporation, or GAIN, is a BDC that invests in and provides capital to small and mid-sized businesses. They have a dividend yield of 8.53% and an annual dividend of 90 cents per share. I own approximately 243 shares, totaling $16.54 in dividends paid. Realty Income Corporation, or O, is a real estate investment trust known for its monthly dividend payments and long-term net lease agreements. They have a dividend yield of 5.34% and an annual dividend of $3.07 per share. I own approximately 64 shares, totaling $16.54 in dividends paid. Finally, let's cover ETFs with quarterly distributions. The SPDR Portfolio S&P 500 High Dividend ETF, or SPDR, is an exchange-traded fund that targets high dividend-yielding stocks within the S&P 500. They have a dividend yield of 4.89% and an annual dividend of $1.94 per share. I own 85 shares of SPDR, totaling $40.87 in dividends paid. The SPDR Portfolio S&P 500 Growth ETF, or SPIG, is an exchange-traded fund that focuses on high-growth stocks within the S&P 500 index. They have a dividend yield of 0.76% and an annual dividend of 66 cents per share. I own 46 shares, totaling $5.68 in dividends paid. The SPDR Portfolio S&P 500 Value ETF, or SPIV, is an exchange-traded fund that focuses on value stocks within the S&P 500 index. They have a dividend yield of 2.40% and an annual dividend of $1.43 per share. I own 69 shares, totaling $19.66 in dividends paid. The iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, or IVV, is an exchange-traded fund designed to track the performance of the S&P 500 index. They have a dividend yield of 1.53% and an annual dividend of $5.03 per share. I own 6.5 shares, totaling $10.31 in dividends paid. The Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, or VWAM, is an exchange-traded fund that aims to provide high dividend income by investing in a broad array of high-yielding U.S. stocks. They have a dividend yield of 3.16% and an annual dividend of $3.21 per share. I own 28 shares, totaling $29.05 in dividends paid.
Thanks for that, DH. And bravo, your success is truly inspirational. Before we get to the total dividends for the month, if you found this information helpful, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for future updates. It helps the channel grow and reach investors such as yourself. Now for the fun part, let's tally up our total. Our hero made $49.28 from quarterly equities, $76.36 from monthly ETFs, $35.27 from bond ETFs, $100.98 from BDCs and REITs, and finally $105.57 from quarterly ETFs. That's a grand total of $367.46, all from passive income without having to lift a finger. Stay tuned to see how this portfolio grows to new heights and snowballs into something even greater. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.